I think.
Or it's gonna be cold. They opted to do it old-fashioned heat.
There you go.
Well, they should.
Are we all ready?
Yeah, if it would have been me, I would have put heat in the whole floor.
Oh, yeah, they'd have been, yeah.
Let us sit down.
Good.
At least.
Okay, it is 3 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. So item number 1, I've done. Number 2, do we have confirmation from staff that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided?
The packet was posted and the required notice of the meeting was provided.
Thank you. We have a roll call. Let's start over here on my left.
Kevin Cool.
David Holmgren.
Charles Renz. Rick Walters.
Scott Krause.
Greg Nichols.
William McBride.
Ryan White.
Mark Frazier.
All right, thank you. Let's go to the approval of minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 14th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we have new business. There are no quasi-judicial matters, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there are no legislative matters. All right, so we're going to go to administrative items. So we have the Code Review Subcommittee, the BAB Subcommittee. Sean, do you have a update for us?
Yeah, we need from the board 5 members chosen from among yourselves to serve on the 2017 National Electrical Code Subcommittee. We're not quite ready to begin, but I suspect that we will be ready before the next general meeting of the BAB. Our IBC subcommittee will wrap up, and so we want to go ahead and ask you to choose the 5 members who will look at the electrical code, review that, and I've brought books, so whoever those members will be, we will send you out with your big book to begin reviewing after tonight.
Okay, so how would we like to address the subcommittee?
Well, you want to do volunteers?
We can do volunteers. I think it's important to note we should have at least an electrician on the committee. I just wanted to make sure and say that. I think we'll have
Ryan
those
here.
volunteers. Well, I don't want to volunteer Ryan if he doesn't want to.
And Billy.
I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll do it.
so I've got
I'll be glad to sit in.
Ryan, William, Mark. That's 3. We need 2 more. Do I need to be on it? Do I have to be on it?
It's up
I mean,
to
I'm fine with
Yeah.
whatever, but
anybody from the board.
anybody from the
Two
board?
more.
Okay. Does anybody else want to do it?
I'll do it. I'll sit down.
Kevin.
Okay, so Kevin and Charles. Hey, that makes life nice. Does anybody feel left out? Okay. So let's have a motion to have William, Ryan, Mark, Kevin, and Charles be the subcommittee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion from Mark, a second.
I'll second.
Ryan, second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the subcommittee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I like moving through these. This one, the next item is a code review for the existing building code.
Yeah, this was discussed in the IBC subcommittee, and in the discussion, it was thought that the question should be brought to the whole building advisory board. Should a subcommittee be made to review the 2018 International Existing Building Code, whereas the IBC covers everything for new buildings, and then it is up to the AHJ and designers to apply those to existing buildings and existing spaces whenever there are changes. There is an International Existing Building Code out there where many of the applications of the IBC to those existing buildings are spelled out particularly. That is the International Existing Building Code. And so there was discussion among subcommittee members that it had proven to be helpful, particularly to designers in the past. And so we thought it worthwhile to bring it to the board to say, is this a code that we should review for possible adoption into our local code? So that's the question.
Okay, so do we have any questions, comments from the board?
Has there been any research done on similar sized cities or other cities around us that have adopted it?
There has not at this time. There were comments about the fact that both designers, one at least, has found the resource helpful because for projects in larger jurisdictions where the code is adopted, it was found to be helpful in particular circumstances. And I can say also that I have a copy of the 2012 International Existing Building Code in the office, and I will reference that from time to time whenever I come up against a question where a call may need to be made on the application of the code to an existing building. I look there to see if there might be guidance.
Greg, do you remember, was the only reason that was brought up was because with Mike, wasn't it?
I think Mike did bring it up.
Because I don't remember that much of the discussion on that.
I think it was kind of what Sean alluded
Right.
to, that it's helpful
For Mike, or for their
the
industry.
designers.
Yeah.
That Charles, you were going to say.
I've used it. I find it to be very helpful for development, particularly of older buildings and change in use. And there are certain things with an older building, when you look to do an adaptive reuse or a change in reuse, that if you don't adopt it, I mean, it makes it very, very difficult to meet it. I think that there's a lot of benefit. I think there's a lot of benefit to it for what we do. Ultimately, almost everything in there that's referenced, still leaves it at the discretion of the building official. So I think if people feel like, well, you may be extending it too far, I think there is some, there's the ability to catch that, or to apply some reason to it. But I have found it to be very helpful. I believe Manhattan uses it pretty extensively. When I've had questions about it, I call Manhattan. I've called the building official over there and visit with them when I've had questions and interpretations. So.
Sean, is that something that we can look at with the committee that we've already got in place?
Yes, in fact, that's it would be at the discretion of the board, but to me it would seem sensible to have the same folks who are looking at the IBC look at the IEBC and do that review if that's the will of the whole board. But obviously that's for all of you to decide. Yes.
If anybody doesn't have any discussion, I'd move that we
can
make a
discuss
motion to
after.
do that.
Okay. So I'm hearing a motion to add the IEBC to the code review cycle.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Motion carries. All right, is there any unfinished or other business?
There is one item, and because I did not get it into the agenda and it's coming in under unfinished, I will need, or there will need to be rather, for this to be discussed, a motion to accept this as an order of business and discuss it. But there is actually another code standard that is could be reviewed for the 2018 cycle that we did not review in 2012, and that is the 2018 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. What happened in after 2012 in the IBC and the IRC, the International Residential Code. The sections which dealt with swimming pools, many of those stipulations, many of the requirements were pulled out of the model code books, IBC, IRC, and now there is approximately a 100-page mini code book put out by the ICC that deals exclusively with swimming pools, spas, hot tubs, that sort of thing. Also barrier requirements that are related. And for those of you with experience in that, you'll know that there are elements that other codes touch, but it's actually the swimming pool and spa code that bring them all together and put them into one place. The sections which used to appear in the IRC about barrier requirements, fencing, gates, latch height, security alarms for the doors to pools, things like these, they've all been pulled out of the IRC and the IBC and now are found exclusively in the ISPSC. And so, yeah, the question is, shall I order 10 books for the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code in order that the committee can review, or the board rather, can appoint a subcommittee to review that? Because really that's the only place all of that code is found, all put together.
All right, so you guys that are plumbers are gonna probably be,
Well, there seems to be a lot more swimming pools going in these days, so I would say it would probably be a good idea.
Is that code just simply referenced in the IBC, or so can it not just be adopted by reference?
It can be adopted by reference, and I assume that the board would want to know the contents before going with that alone, but you're absolutely correct. In the chapters where there used to be swimming pools and 6 or 8 pages, there now appears swimming pools and a couple of lines that direct the reader to the ISPSC.
It seems to me like it would be a good idea. Swimming pools are rather difficult to find all the different sections and all the different books currently. And so if we had one book that had it all consolidated, might be beneficial, not only to us installers, but also inspectors. And yeah,
Make life a lot
it
easier.
always seems to be a little chaotic around swimming pools.
Yeah, that's our perspective from the office, from the inspectors, and from my point of view. Also, we're starting to see more requests for pool covers in lieu of barrier fencing, which has been a thing in the international code since at least 2012. And we haven't seen many of those, but we're beginning to see those here, and they're dealt with explicitly in this code. And so,
Well,
yeah.
the good thing about fences, they don't fail.
It's true. That'll be something for the board to talk about. I'll be interested to hear that discussion.
okay, so we would need a motion to add the ISPSC to the list of code review. Am I interpreting that correctly? Okay. So do I have a motion?
I will make that motion to add it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll propose one other order of business because it's corollary to the two we just discussed.
Okay?
And that would be, who should review International Swimming Pool and Spa Code? Those were sections that were in the IRC and the IBC. Is this something that our IBC subcommittee should just keep the plow on the ground until they get through International Existing Building Code and International Swimming Pool and Spa Code? Or should this be a separate subcommittee? Should they, any combination, right? Any way the board would like to do that. If we could establish that now, we'll know what we're going to do going forward. I'll get the books ordered and we'll just make notification when the time comes.
Well, what we could do is add it to the committee we already have, and then if anybody else would like to sit in on that, they could.
So our current committee has 5 members. Are we prohibited from having a subcommittee larger than 5? That's one of my questions.
I don't think so, because the last code review, we had committees that were bigger than 5.
Yeah, I don't think there is anything that would prohibit. I think we have 5 because we had 5
A good
often
number.
in the past, and it works. It's easy to determine quorum and such. I
Okay.
can look into that and make sure there's nothing else at work that might prohibit, but.
Okay,
this
then
time I
my
don't see it.
second question is, if there is no prohibition to size, is anybody that is currently not on the IBC review committee, would anyone like to volunteer to do the swimming pool committee as a part?
I'd like to be part of that.
If that gets approved by everybody,
Yeah.
I don't want to jump to conclusions there, but is anybody else interested? Okay, so we would need a motion to have a subcommittee of the ISPSC review be the IBC review board plus Ryan.
Is there a graphic that goes with it?
Yeah, it's what we may need a process map or something, right, with some arrows.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So we have a motion to use the IBC subcommittee plus Ryan White, and I have a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Okay, we have a subcommittee appointed.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, did we determine that the IBC subcommittee would serve as the reviewing board for the International Existing Building Code, or do we need to vote on that as well?
We made a motion on that earlier.
Are we good?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
and voted on it.
that's good.
Thank you.
We got to make sure we get it, you know.
right.
As long as Shandy has it, we're good, right?
Indeed. That's all I have then. Thank you.
Okay, so we're ready for public forum. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this body? All right, I'm seeing no public members interested in addressing the BAB. So we are ready for item number 6. If there's no other business, item 6 is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Say motion carries. We are adjourned.